Get your popcorn ready. Right
all
here.
Ready.
Myself and my ugly co-host Hatch is in the building.
Hater alert on Get Your Popcorn Ready podcast.
Right,
my boy T.O. in the building hating.
No, we it's all love over here. Yeah, let's get this thing. Yep. Let's get this thing started, man. Get Your Popcorn Ready podcast. One more week. We are in the books, and we got a special one coming up, man. DeAngelo Hall, you reached out and was like, yo, are you cool with D Hall? And I'm like, yeah. So obviously, I mean, he felt like because of some of, our interaction on the field, I think he probably thought that there was some animosity. But I'm sure, and as he said in his text prior to all of this happening, he's in a different space. He's a different man than he was, when he played, and I am too. So it made all the more sense for me. Like I said, hey, when we played, we're competitive. We both gonna go at it. That just shows you the competitiveness in both of us. So I found it very interesting that he was like, yo, Hatch, you need to reach out to him first because he thought that I had some animosity. But as I told him, I leave whatever's on the field unless you bring it off. Other than that, it's all good. It's all love right here. It's all popcorn over here.
Already, yeah. DeAngelo Hall, 3-time Pro Bowler, first-round draft pick of the Atlanta Falcons. Then he went to the Oakland Raiders, and he finished up his career with the Washington Redskins. Played 14 years in the NFL as a corner during the end of his career, played some safety. And again, I put him as one of the headiest as well as being athletic corners to play the game. Again, remember, that boy could run. Yeah, he was 4'2" coming out. Again, he had all the tools, and for him to, again, have some of the records he has in the NFL, I'm not shocked, but looking forward to having DeAngelo Hall on the show today. Get Your Popcorn Ready podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on the Himalaya app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes. And not only the audio version of this, but if you want to see the video version of this, because you have two handsome hosts right here, myself, T.O. and Hatch, go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Terrell Owens.
Well, there it is. Welcome to Get Your Popcorn Ready podcast. It's your host, Hatch, with my boy T.O. is in the building. What up, T?
What up, man? Man, I love this show right here, man, because we got a special guest in the building. Man, he's one of the premier corners I know that I played against. We had some spirited battles. Him playing in Atlanta. I played with Frisco and Philly. So yeah, man, and Dallas, yeah, for that matters. You talking about having your popcorn ready? I am ready today, man. We got our man DeAngelo Hall. So, with no further ado, man, welcome to Get Your Popcorn Ready podcast. Myself and my boy Hatch. Welcome, D Hall. What's happening, man?
What's happening,
Chilling, man. Hatch T. I appreciate y'all having me, man.
Oh, thanks for coming on, brother. Thanks for coming on. We always talk about the Kobe and kind of how he
LeBron, MJ.
Right. Yeah. Kobe kind of, took what MJ was doing. I think you're the only defensive corner ever that we always say that kind of try to emulate Deion Sanders. Is that a true statement? The way you dress, the numbers, the 2 that you wore in practice, is that? I just want to put that out there first. That's one of the only questions I get to ask really today.
I wore 2 in high school, so the 2 as a practice jersey was just something I kind of always did.
Okay.
But you think of some of the most famous 2s that played the position I played, and obviously Deion name pops up, Charles Woodson name pops up. I wore 4 in college. Champ Bailey name pops up. But yeah, man, those were guys that kind of was the standard bearers. You throw Darrell Green in there. A couple other guys I know I'm missing. But just, you want to try to take a little bit of everybody's game just to try to put in your own. And, I absolutely try to take as much of Prime and a little bit of Champ and Seawood, E. Green and, Aeneas and all these, great players, just tried to take what I could get from them and try to put it in my game. So, I think I took that Deion Sanders prime time in Atlanta and ran with it, especially getting that 2-1 down there.
Right. And for the fans out there that don't know, the reason we're talking about him wearing number 2 in practice because corners can't wear a single digit in the game. So what players do, they kind of like to wear during their practice jersey, they'll put on their single digits in practice. and they'll rock them like that because they can't wear them in the game. So for all the fan base out there wondering about the number 2 and what that means for guys to wear them in practice, that's why, it's kind of a big deal.
It is. It is. Look, I got 8-year-old twins, and they're like, man, when I get to the NFL, I can't wear a single digit number. I'm like, no, unless you back or you're a punter.
Right.
Hey, but
be fresh though.
Right, but the way things are going, you never know. By the time they get to the league,
true, yeah,
that may be permissible. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, when we came in, receivers couldn't wear 10 through 19 in the late 90s, probably early 2000. I think they probably changed that. Maybe Larry Fitzgerald's rookie year, maybe that 2003, 2004, because Fitzgerald had 11. And no other, especially prominent wide receivers at the time had, a 10 through 19. And now that's all you see. Nobody even wants definitely nobody wanted 81. That's for sure. Nobody wants that.
Correction. Keyshawn had 19.
Yeah, but Keyshawn was getting fined, I remember.
Yeah, he couldn't wear it. He couldn't wear it.
What I heard was Keyshawn would write a check at the beginning of the season and say, I'm wearing 19 every game. At least that's the myth that I always heard.
Oh, wow.
It was illegal. It was because again, you had to have on the roster, you had to have 80 through 89 full, the tight ends. It had to be full in order for that to happen.
Gotcha. Oh man, this is news to me. Man, I'm getting educated on my own show.
We're gonna educate you, dog. You know what I'm saying? We got you.
I had no idea that didn't know that was a thing. I knew that obviously there's numbers designated for positions, but I didn't know that you really couldn't wear a particular number outside of your position.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, yeah. So D Hall, I know, you live in Virginia area now. You're from the Chesapeake, Virginia area. You were talking about your high school career a little bit. Take us back to high school. Start us out because you were on the offensive side of the ball as well, right? Good. You were great with the ball in your hands. Of course, and that translated over to college, of course. But take us back to what Deep Creek High School, the superstar you were at the high school level.
Well, I went to Deep Creek High School down in that Chesapeake, Virginia area, 757 area. A lot of great football players, basketball players, Allen Iverson, Michael Vick, Joe Smith, overall pick out of Maryland. Didn't turn into a superstar player, but we just coming from that area, it was always guys who had made it big. Bruce Smith, was another name. Kenny Easley, and just seeing those guys from a distance, man, as a young kid growing up, it just always gave you the motivation that, man, I can make it. If I made it from 30 minutes up the street, if Mike Vick made it from 45 minutes up the street, why can't I make it? And so it really gave us, it gave us the ability to kind of see that dream or have that dream. But then because those guys made it, we felt like we can make it. And so, my high school career was good. I wouldn't say I was a great football player. I was always kind of fast, always kind of had a chip on my shoulder. I think T probably knows that more than anybody, man. I always had a chip on my shoulder. Right. It was never a guy too big for me. Y'all know the scuffles I've gotten in on sidelines with O-linemen and all these other situations, fussing out coaches. I've always kind of played with that chip on my shoulder because, being 5'10", 190 pounds, soaking wet, if I don't think
you can't play with nobody.
He ain't gonna think I'm shutting him down, right? And so, I tell people all the time, man, my persona on the field and off the field is totally different because on the field, man, I'm crazy, and I know I'm crazy. You got to be a little bit.
You got to be crazy.
Go out there and check T.O. by yourself, to check Marvin Harrison by yourself, to check Randy Moss by yourself. All these great Hall of Fame players. And I thought I was a really good corner. I thought I was a great football player. And I think it just goes back to, like you said, in high school, playing running back, playing receiver a little bit in college, being really good with the ball in my hands as a returner. It just kind of, it was always about trying to go out there and make a play. And even on the defensive side of the football, I always hated hearing commentators and coaches say, oh, he plays defense because he can't catch. No,
right.
I like hitting people, not getting hit.
There it is. Okay.
When I see DBs not catching balls, I'm like, bro, that's why you play corner.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
Exactly. Already. So now, of course, you get to that getting recruited area, going into a college. Now, how much did that decision on if they're going to let you return kicks or get the ball in your hand a little bit? How much did that play into your decision on going to college?
Well, really, the only thing that played into my decision was, was if I was going to be able to play right away. I was a young kid. I graduated high school at 17.
Wow. Yep. Big difference.
In November. And so, I graduated in June and had to go to college in July for a summer school program. And Virginia Tech was one of the few schools who was kind of like, all right, we're willing to see what you got. I had a lot of other offers, a lot just stemmed from track. I ran a lot of track in high school as well. And so I had a lot of offers just because, everyone knew I was fast. But Virginia Tech was really probably the only school that was talking to me because they knew that I could play football. I had Miami State wanted me to come on track scholarships and things like that, but I wanted to be viewed as a football player that ran track, not a track guy that played football.
Right.
I ended up picking Virginia Tech, and it didn't hurt either. You talked about me being a primetime fan. I wanted to pick Florida State bad.
Right.
The conversations with that staff at the time was I was going to redshirt off rip. They didn't want me. They didn't want to see nothing from me. I was going to redshirt, and I'm like, Coach, like, can you at least tell me I'm gonna compete for a job or compete see if I'm a redshirt or something? And so, that recruiting process was pretty easy for me because, having Virginia Tech play Florida State in the national championship the year prior, it was kind of a no-brainer. I got to stay in state, and then they started kind of pitching the, if we stay in the state of Virginia, if the Virginia kids stay in state, we got a chance to beat teams like Miami and which, we did beat those guys a couple times. And as you guys know, they weren't lacking talent, man. One year we beat them 9 first rounders. I played the secondary that had Ed Reed, Mike Rump, Philip Buchanan, main Lewis. Backups were Antrell Roll, Sean Ted.
Wow.
It was just a stacked team beyond. Shockey was out there, one tight end, and his backup was Kellen Winslow, who probably ran our team. You could imagine.
Already. Well, shoot, I guess you made the right choice. You're now in the Virginia Tech Sports Hall of Fame, so congratulations on that as well, man.
Thank you.
Also, obviously you said you were obviously known for being fast. Did you consider running on the track team?
I ran a little track one off season at Tech. It just was too much. It was just a whole lot. Being in college, I wanted to enjoy the experience. Right. So I was having to go to spring practice and go to track practice. I saw the results that spring. I ran 4.15, and I think that's when a lot of started to really notice. That was a handheld time, and Virginia Tech has a myth of having the fastest times in the country. A couple of years earlier than that, Mike ran 4.2 something. And so we are fast. I don't quite know if we're that fast, but
right. What events did you run? 100, 200?
Yeah, I was a sprinter, so I ran the 100, 200. Yeah,
okay.
I only got to run indoors, so I only ran the 60.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
60.
I got we got a race coming up here pretty soon. Myself and
it's a JV race, Hall. Don't get excited. It's JV.
First of all, you got to consider your source in which you're getting your information. This guy right here, slow as molasses, so he's always gonna try to hate.
But I used to be fast.
Hey, so this is what the deal. I'm sure you've seen the highlight. I raced Tyreek Hill.
I saw that. I saw a little clip. I don't think I saw the finish though.
Right, a couple of months ago. So the thing was, we had him on the show. He said, obviously, he's one of the fastest in the NFL. So he said he was going to give me 10 steps and beat me in 100. I said, there's no way. Hatch is mad because he lost 1,000. Our producer lost 1,000. You know what I mean? And so he's hating right now. So now I've gotten myself in a little bit of shape. So we had Justin Gatlin, the World Olympic sprinter, on the show. So we have the same bet going that I had against Tyreek Hill. He said he's going to give me 10 steps. He said he's going to give me 10 steps. And then so I've called a couple of other people out. So Brandon Marshall, if you check out Brandon Marshall, he's been on the treadmill. He said, give him a few weeks.
Marshall, hey, what?
So
Marshall, what you doing?
Right, but I'm just saying, yeah, that's what he said. He said $100,000. No, but he said he's running for $100,000.
No, that's gotta be who he gonna bet the $100,000 to?
He's going against me.
So y'all go be even up?
Yeah, straight up. The reason I say that because he said the 60. So I said 40 or the 100. So he hit me look at his story. He's calling me out. He's on the treadmill. He's pulling the sled. He said $100,000. He goes, yo, I'm not running. He said, I'm not running the 40. I'm not running the 100. He said, we're going to run the 60. I've never really ran the 60, but I'm going to run him. I'm going to run him in the 60. And we got some other people that's going to be we're going to make the race interesting, D Hall. So Justin Gatlin, it's going to be live streamed in a few weeks. So he's getting a couple of his track guys. I'm getting some football guys. So Marquise Goodwin's already bought in. He said he's going to do it. Paul Pratt, he's pretty fast. And we got one more other guy, and we're going to do a 4x100 relay. But we're going to mix it up. It's going to be 2 track, 2 football guys.
Oh, that's gonna be dope, man.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Be dope. But B Marsh couldn't run when he played, bro.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what B Marshall doing.
Let me tell you something,
you
bro.
sure this is Brandon Marshall?
Yeah. All you gotta do is go to his lives and follow his stories. Follow his story.
I want to send that bet. I want a piece of that action.
Oh, bro,
action too, man.
You feel me?
Hey, trust me. If he wants some of this smoke, D Hall, trust me. The thing is, D Hall, people really think I'm slow, but I'm gonna let them think that I'm slow. But once I get going, it's a wrap.
Why would they think you slow, though, bro? You didn't play slow.
I don't think people think you slow.
No. Trust me. For whatever reason.
Oh, probably.
There it is. There it is, Hall.
But you can still run, though, bro. Because look, I was with Darryl Green, man, up in VA, and he just turned 60, and he still can pick him up and put him down.
He's still.
I believe it. Man, that's crazy.
Different. Like Adrian Peterson, he different. Darryl Green different.
Right.
He ain't different.
He ain't different.
He can't run like that.
So this is a good set. Yeah, this is a good segue. Speaking of speed and stuff like that, who is some of the toughest receivers? Like I said, outside of myself, that you feel like you faced, and we'll get toward the end. We'll get your top 3 to 5 receivers of all time.
Oh man, toughest I had to face. I mean, obviously, like you said yourself, we had some battles.
Right.
You know, and me being so young in some of those battles too, man, it taught me a whole lot as I continued to play. Randy Moss humbled the hell out of me. You know what I mean? Going up against him. He's a tough cover. Calvin Johnson, just by sheer size. Like, how do you deal with 235? You know, an interesting story, man. I can remember, and I was telling Nate Burleson this. We were at the Super Bowl last year in Miami. We were all chopping it up. And you know, he actually was telling the story, and it was so funny hearing him tell it because, you know, the way I saw it was totally different. And it was the first play of the game. We were playing Detroit, and my coach was like, "Look, you following Calvin Johnson around all game. First play of the game, we're gonna call cover 2. Just run up on him, just smash him, just hit him, let him know it's gonna be a tough day." I'm thinking, all right, cool. That's all I gotta do. All right, man. So the first play, I'm off about 8 yards. I start walking down almost like it's a trap coverage. As soon as they hike the ball, I run up and just hard as I can hit Calvin Johnson. Yeah. Helmet slid down over my eye.
Yeah.
There's a run the other way, dog. I kind of go to the sideline and say, "Hey, coach, that ain't work. We ain't doing that. Throw that out."
Like, call that off. Hey, because you know what's funny? Because again, especially receivers, we always have this debate with, you know, fans saying this corner's covering you. But I'm glad you explained that you guys went cover 2, so that gave you the ability to come up and jam. Because if you was just single safety press, like, you wouldn't have did that on that play. Now, you're one of the few corners to follow receivers, you know, side to side. So, of course, all respect goes out to you. But people got to understand, a lot of them corners out there, when they got that safety over the top, they're not being as aggressive because they're not that good.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, you know, I understand where my place is in football. You know, like I said, I thought I was a really good corner, but I thought I was a really great football player, just being able to understand the game and see things. And, you know, I might be in man-to-man here, but if the quarterback's looking the other way, like, I'm trying to go make a play, right? And so, you know, for me, you know, when I watch players like Marcus Peters play, I love watching him play. And it's not necessarily because he's the best man-to-man lockdown corner.
Right.
But I know he's going to give my football team an opportunity to win because he's going to take the football away.
Absolutely.
And I feel like as a DB, you got to take the football away. Like, there's a lot of great people who claim they're great DBs. But if you ain't getting the football, man, you just knocking down PBUs. Like, people didn't fear Deion because they were scared that he would pick it. They feared him because they were scared he was going to pick it and it was going to be a highlight 6 the other way.
Yeah, he take that ball away. That ball's important, man.
You got to, for sure.
So yeah, you know what? Of course, it's a bigger story than I even thought. Of course, T don't know, and you probably don't know. But again, so when you faced T on that Monday night, I didn't know that was part of your coming out party. You know what I'm saying? Because as a receiver, of course, T goes say the same thing. T saying, well, if I had over 100 yards, I had a pretty good day versus this guy. But as outside looking in, the commentator saying you have arrived because you played T so well in certain situations in that game. How'd you feel like after that game? Were you like, okay, yes, I have arrived because I played an all-pro and I played well? Or were you still like, I still got to get better?
Well, you know, the whole setup to that, first of all, I reached out, you know, Hatch, when you reached out to me about being on the podcast, I'm like, bro, you got to tell T he got to hit me. Like, I just, you know, because I know we've had some fierce rivalries, you know.
Right.
And it could be, you know, anybody who's just watching it could think, man, we hate each other. And
right.
Totally not the case at all. Like, I'm the biggest T.O. fan. My kids know T.O. Heck, my 8-year-old's over here listening to every word. Look at T. So,
awesome.
You know, so for me, I guess the success came from just accepting the challenge, man. Like, I was 21 years old.
That's part of it.
You know, I was 21 years old, so I was a young dude, and T.O. was the man. You know, like, you're not gonna stop a dude like T.O. It's just not gonna happen. And so the first half, I think T had 8 catches, 7-8 catches.
Dude, I don't know.
I don't know, but he had a lot of catches, bro.
Right.
I'm in the locker room at halftime, like
this is it.
I got another half. You know, I got another half, and then I just remember Jim Moore, who was our head coach at the time. He was a DB guy. I don't even know. I'm sure T remembers him because he was in.
Yeah. He was in San Francisco. He was a defensive back coach there.
Yeah, and so he was just, you know, hey man, get up on him. You got to play him like this. You know, he was just throughout the course of the game, and you know, it was just the moment, man. That was the year that T and them had lost in the Super Bowl to the Patriots, but they beat us being the Falcons in the NFC Championship game. They didn't even play in that game.
Nope.
And they won. And so, you know, the job was to try to look, if we can handle him, we got a chance to win that game. And so, I mean, I always want the pressure. And obviously in the first half, you know, he whipped me pretty bad, but in the second half, I don't even know how many catches he had, but it wasn't the 8 he had in the first. And we
right.
You know, we end up winning the game. But I tell my kids all the time, bro, it's not how you start. It's how you
man. I think in today's society, so many kids see this instant gratification, this instant fame by Instagram, all these different social media sites. They get all these likes, and they forget, like, at the end of the day, bro, you still got to work. Like, you know what I mean? And so that's probably the number one thing, man. Like, I just remember watching a special, and T was going to work out at like 10 o'clock at night. And I think ESPN was showing it, or somebody was showing it. And I was just like, man, if you want to beat your opponent, hell, you got to train like your opponent. So I started getting midnight. I'm in the Falcons facility by myself.
Nice.
Lifting weights on the treadmill that season, you know, all that off season. Just trying to get my mind right, because it was a point when I first got in the league, man, when I was going against Randy, I'm like, bro, I don't know if I can do this. Like, this is harder than I thought. I started to slow down. I stopped trying to make every play and just make that one play. You know what I mean? Start understanding, I got a safety. Why am I biting this? Or why am I jumping this slant when it's a cover 3 and somebody gonna buzz under the flats? If he catches it, just make the tackle. Like, once I started understanding some of those things, you know, it really slowed the game down, and I was able to make some plays.
It's funny that you say that. Like I said, you saw a special, you saw T.O. working out at 10 o'clock at night, and this is what I'm trying to explain to the kids as well. It's like, you have to do more. And when the Clippers lost last week, right? The only thing I was waiting to hear from the Clippers is saying, you know what? We're going to take 2 days off and we go start working out again next year. But I'm not hearing that out of the Clippers. So, because it goes back to that, of course, just The Last Dance. We're huge Jordan fans on here. So when Michael came back and he lost that game in Orlando and they were out the playoffs, and Michael said, hey, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to see y'all to start getting ready for next year. So I don't think people understand the way you have to start getting ready is going to be the process. You don't start getting ready during the season or when training camp starts, when everybody else gets ready. You got to start when you first feel that in your gut, like, yo, this dude out here is doing something different, or I got to do something different. And I think just going back to, real life, the Clippers, what I'm hearing, all that, I'm hearing nothing about these guys getting back in the gym already. And if they ain't doing that, they don't got a chance to win it next year. And it kind of goes back to the difference between athletes of 10 to 20 years ago compared to athletes today.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it ain't even close, Right. Athletes 10, 15 years ago, it's just the dog mentality, man. It was, I felt like it was a higher level.
Right.
I love LeBron for everything he's done off the court. He's such an influential person, in our society, especially for young African Americans. He's done a whole lot. But I kind of like I'm the kind of guy, I ain't going to team up with nobody. You know what I mean? That's just why I've always kind of been a Kobe guy, because just that mindset and that mentality, it's like you can't coach that. As a dad, you want your kids to have that kind of mindset, I love LeBron, like I said, but I'm always a Kobe guy, MJ guy, because if someone comes to my team, cool, but this is my team. Like, I am not going to somebody else's town, nobody else's city, to try to win no championship. Even though, like I said, played 14 years, never got one. I'm kind of wishing I would have made my way up to New England at some point.
Go ahead, T.
No, but I like what DeAngelo said earlier, as he mentioned his kids, especially his 8-year-olds, and he touched on something for me is that, a lot of these kids, as he said, they don't know the grind. They don't know the process. I think a lot of kids look at a lot of these social media platforms from your Instagram, Twitter. You think about the likes, the YouTube. They don't really know the true measure of success. And these social media platforms, they're not it for it. So it's our duty as men, especially DeAngelo Hall, who's one of the premier corners, that I faced, that played in the National Football League, to share that wisdom with his kids, because, again, they can get caught up in the hype with their peers, with their friends, with their other or what have you, classmates and things of that nature. They have to understand the grind. And for me, we didn't have social media, but I knew the grind for me is that I knew that I had to work a little bit extra harder than the ones that were around me, whether it was in high school or college. And then when I got to the pros, like I said, I knew that I wasn't as good as the guys that were drafted in that draft class. I had 11 or 12 guys that were drafted before me. So when you think about now playing against guys like Champ Bailey, DeAngelo Hall, the Darrell Reeves, Jason Sehorn, not really Jason Sehorn, but the top.
Yeah,
don't
put Sehorn in there.
Right, but that's the thing is, like, when I was starting to come out of my shell, they were starting to find guys that they felt like that could shut me down. But obviously these guys were drafted like first or second round. Like I said, I came from UT Chattanooga. I didn't go to a top Division I school, so that's where when you talk about having that chip on your shoulder, I didn't necessarily have that chip, but I knew that I wasn't as good as I wanted to be. So I had to be the best version of myself. So I knew facing a lot of these great defensive corners that I was going to be facing, and then eventually like DeAngelo Hall, I knew that I had to put in that hard work because I knew that I wasn't good. So I was a realist in a sense. So again, I like what DeAngelo said. It's like, you have to trust the grind. You have to go through the process, because a lot of these kids, they're looking for that instant gratification. They want to work out for 1 or 2 weeks and then think that, okay, I've arrived. I'm ready to go. It doesn't happen in 1 or 2 weeks. I just had this conversation with my nephew. I try to treat it like I try to tell him, like yesterday, I was like, yo, it's almost like a bank account. or big glass jar that you got and you trying to fill it up. At the end of if you start putting something in that jar every day, every other day, every week, by the end of the year, you ain't gonna be able to pick up that jar because everything is adding up. So that's why I try to tell kids and put them in the mindset of the process of what it takes to be successful and reach their goals. So I appreciate you sharing that insight, DeAngelo.
No doubt. Hey, T, let me ask you a question, and I know this y'all's show, but hell, like I said, I'm a fan too, so I want to.
Yeah, that's all good.
So when you at some point you knew you were the dude. What kept that grind going? You know what I mean? Because I'm not saying the dude.
Because some people relax when they find out they the dude.
Like top 1-2 in the league, the dude. Like numbers passing Jerry Rice up there. You know, like what kept the grind going even after you got to that pinnacle?
Honestly, bro, it was because I had a strong dissatisfaction of being mediocre. I experienced standing on the sideline, not playing on Friday nights in high school. I experienced a little bit of that when I was in college. It's so funny. I went to high school and I got recruited to UT Chattanooga with another receiver. His name was Derek Hall. So we called him D Hall. So I got to Chattanooga on the heels of him. They were recruiting him and they came and they watched film. You know, that's when they had VHS and the little. So they basically said, yo, who is this kid? I didn't really start at all. I maybe started maybe a couple of games like my entire high school career. But they saw it like, man, who is this kid? It's like, yo, he has potential. So I only got recruited based on the heels of someone else. And so when I got to Chattanooga, it was the same thing. I was underdeveloped. I was skinny. I was scrawny. I wasn't fast at all. I didn't have the muscles that people see now in my professional career. That's what, when you talk about working out late night in the morning, like I got a trainer after my third year in the league. So that's when I started to understand what I was able to do based on the physical attributes in which the San Francisco 49ers drafted me. Because you look at their roster of receivers prior to me getting there, they were like 6'2", 6'3". You talk about John Taylor, J.J. Stokes, Jerry Rice. These are guys that I had the prototypical type of body like those guys. And so when I got to the league, I realized, again, I wasn't good as I wanted to be or I needed to be. So that grind, that, like I said, I wouldn't say as a chip, but dude, I stood on the sideline for a number of years watching everybody else make plays, whether it was defensive guys or offensive guys. Bro, I didn't want to be that guy. I did it in high school. I did it in college. And I'm like, yo, I want to maximize. I want to take advantage of this opportunity. I wanted to enhance my skill sets in which I was drafted for. So everything that I felt like I was weak on, where it was bump and run, route running, all these things, like I said, it didn't happen overnight. Like you said, when I started to really feel like I was that dude, I was really that dude coming out of my like 8th, 9th year going into Philly. Bro, I felt like there was nobody that could stop me. But prior to that, when I was probably like my year 4 to year 8 in San Francisco, there was a transition in quarterbacks. I had Steve Young, and then I had Jeff Garcia. So I had to adapt my game based on the ability of both of those quarterbacks. Steve Young, your prototypical stand in the pocket passer. Jeff Garcia, not so much. So if you think about it, year 8, that's when I started going over the top of guys and everybody started to see my speed, because now I'm playing with Donovan McNabb, who has a hose of an arm. He could throw every route in the route tree. He's a pocket passer. He would just drop back and throw that thing over top. With Jeff Garcia, I had to adapt my game based on what he could do best. And so after my 8th, right, really in between 4 and 8, and then really in year 9, I felt like I was that dude, because between that time, I had developed that confidence. I had developed my route running, and then again, understanding the system and my quarterbacks, and then studying defensive backs, understanding what they were doing, reading coverages, this and that and the other. Bro, it was a wrap once I became knowledgeable about the game.
And see what I'm hearing too, you were a realist. Like so many of these athletes aren't they don't have realistic expectations, right?
Right.
Where they think, oh man, I ain't got nothing to work on, man. I had 7 catches. I'm good. We good. They don't see their flaws, man. And I think that was I always did too. I always tried to work with my flaw. You know what I mean? Because my flaw might have shown up. It might not have shown up in this game, or might not have shown up in that game. But eventually, somebody gonna find that flaw, and if they find it, and and I don't have an answer for it, I'm done. You know, barbecue toast.
and again, it's people who are listening again. You know, because I have the same mentality, of course. You know, but people like, well, it's just Hall of Famers or all pros think like that. Like, no, there's a lot of dudes that think like that. They might not have success numbers to back it up. But what you just said is really the same thing. The story about Kobe is when he would think he was in 8th or 9th grade or whatever. He went to a camp and he worked on his left hand the whole camp. Like, that's it. He didn't he shot with his left. He dribbled with his left, like little things like that. People they have to understand you got to be willing to do what's hard now to make it easier for later on. But very few, especially at a younger age. And when I mean younger age, I still mean 20 and 21-year-olds. They're just not willing to do that. Like you said, they always got to look like the superstar. They always got to be the superstar. Like, no, you got to work on your flaws every single day.
Yeah. And then at the same time, like sometimes you have to understand the generation in which we're speaking of. And if you think about the generation that we're speaking, sometimes they're a bit too sensitive. So words like flaws, I try not to use because they.
What word would you use? What word would you use instead of flaw?
I would say areas of improvement, because like I said, like you said, there's no more dogs these days, bro. You know, in high school and college, coaches used to talk to us any kind of way. You know what I mean? But now these
can't say
kids,
nothing,
right? And they're so sensitive, so you have to really kind of curtail your vernacular, your coaching techniques for these kids. So again, and then I have to realize that too. And I say that, and I learned that through my son, because I know my son, and he's been around Hatch and some of my friends, and they be like, man, they tell him how good I was in football. So they may not register with him, and he may not want to hear that. He may want to be himself. So I try to tell him, even when we've trained or what have you, and Hatch has seen him, he comes to the workouts or whatever. He just stands around. He doesn't do anything. Now he's playing football. Now he's playing catch up. So now when I try to coach him up a little bit, or try to tell him, give him techniques of what to do, I try not to use certain negative words, because like I said, you never know how these kids may interpret it. So I try to use words like areas of improvement instead of, stuff like flaws. But again, when you talk about guys like DeAngelo, he mentioned, making adjustments and understanding your abilities where they may not be. As a person, yeah, you can tell yourself, okay, this is what I need to work on. These are my flaws. These are my weaknesses. For me, as I played the game, I started to understand and read defenses. I understood in-game adjustments as well as halftime adjustments. I'm gonna give maybe DeAngelo he'll remember this particular play. I was with the Cowboys, and I saw the way that he was. Hey, so this is
what with the Cowboys.
He got you, huh?
But this is one play in particular that I remember, because when we talk about in-game adjustments, and like I said, you can script things the way of tendencies, this and that and the other, but they may not work out that way. And then the smart ones, they start to elevate their game. And this is where, like I said, it was like this was probably like year 9, like year 10. Like I said, when you asked me about starting to be that dude, this is where I started to become that dude, to where I would come out of the huddle. I would start, depending on where we are early in the game, I would see how guys would play me, defenses would play me. This particular play, we come out of before we come out the huddle, I already saw DeAngelo Hall. He's playing with his butt to the back, to the sideline. So he's looking for me, obviously try to funnel me in, or he's in a position where he could drive on anything I'm going out, or drive on anything going in. So when I came out of the huddle, we had a go route. So I already knew, based on positioning and tendencies, route, the alignment, I knew if I lined up 2 to 3 yards outside that number, he knew what was coming.
Yeah.
So when this particular play, I saw him because right before we broke the huddle, they had already kind of left the huddle. And I told Tony, I said, yo, I see where he's lined up. I said, I'm not going 2 yards out the line. I said, yo, I'm going to run my route on top of the numbers. He said, cool. That was the chemistry and the camaraderie, not the camaraderie, but the chemistry. And the rapport that we had is that he understood, and I was being truthful with him because he knew. I'm like, yo, I'm running this route from the top of the number. He looked at me, say no more. As soon as I got to about 12 to 15 yards, I saw DeAngelo settle because he already knew something was coming.
In or out because of your split. Yeah.
Right. And because his ass was to the sideline. Soon as I saw that, bro, I just went straight ahead. I went straight ahead.
Hey, Hall, this is a podcast. We ain't got no video, so you good.
But like I said,
you might not got no video, but I visualized it in my head, bro.
You see it right now.
I knew exactly what he was talking about, and I never would have put him on taking that ball straight up the seam. And
never
actually made teams start running that inside seam route just like that.
Yeah, it was a go route, but I ran it like a seam route, and that's what I said. Even my coach, they was like, they came to, they was like, dude, why did you do the? I said, dude,
it just makes sense. Yeah,
it just makes sense. Some things don't have to go as scripted. Okay, live sports are back. The NBA finals are set, and while neither the Clippers or the Nuggets made it, our friends at Manscaped have the Clippers to make sure that your Nuggets are perfectly groomed and always worthy of a championship trophy.
And speaking of trophy, do you want to make sure you're taking care of your trophy by keeping less hair around it? Well, go to Manscaped. The Lawnmower 3.0 is the best hygiene tool for the modern man. Because of the ceramic blade and skin-safe technology, your snags will be reduced. Manscaped actually just released their Shears 2.0 nail kit, which is perfect add-on to their Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. The Shears 2.0 is a luxury 4-piece nail kit featuring tempered stainless steel tools, and it includes slash-tip tweezers, rounded point scissors, fingernail clippers, and a medium grit nail file.
Their Perfect Package 3.0 comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, waterproof, cordless body trimmer, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag for you to use when you're done quarantining. The Perfect Package 3.0 also comes with the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver. The Crop Preserver is an anti-shaping ball deodorant which ensures that your afternoon stroll doesn't end up with your ball sticking to your leg.
If you don't want your balls sticking to your legs, use the Crop Reviver. It's a spray-on toner for your balls, not your basketballs, but your balls. It's made with soothing aloe. And witch hazel extract that will give your balls a boost or a bounce.
Let's just go with the boost. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code POPCORN at manscaped.com.
That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code POPCORN. Take your grooming game to the next level and protect your trophy.
But I wanted everybody to know we're talking to DeAngelo Hall, one of the best premier corners in the league right here, man. Woo! I'm loving this.
Yeah. So D Hall, so talking about the flaws. So give us one of those flaws that you had in your game that you felt you had to work on during your career.
You know what? I wasn't much of a backpedaler. T.O. was talking about my butt to the sidelines. In college, I just wasn't taught to backpedal much.
Right.
And so when you are running those kind of intermediate routes, when your shoulder's square and you're coming out your back pedal, it's a lot easier to break on some things sometimes. With your hips cocked. Obviously, with your hips cocked, butt to the sideline, you're ready for that fade ball all day, right? You ready to go front. You're already opened up. You don't have to backpedal from a square position, then turn your you already turned. And so because in college we played such a funky defense at Virginia Tech, I mean, literally our cover two fellas was the two corners would play half field. The safeties would walk down from top, bottom, and hell, I thought that was cover two. When I got to I'm like, what you mean?
Right. That's not our two. That's y'all two.
All I got to do is flat. Okay, cool.
All right.
And so we never really pedaled. And so, that was a big flaw of mine. It wasn't really till I got with Raheem Morris, probably year 5 or 6, that he really made me trust and believe in that straight pedal, because I was able to read so much more stem and just kind of, it was easier for me to adjust different route combinations, as opposed to, as a DB, the only ball you really scared of is that fade ball. So always with them hips cocked, because I'm like, man, I know I can run, but these dudes can run too.
Right, yeah. They can all run in the lead, that's for sure.
Right. So you're saying, so with your speed and your instincts, I know right now you're tied. You tied the NFL record for interception in 2010 with 4 interceptions off Jay Cutler
in one game.
Is that? And yeah, like that's to me, that's like scoring 5 to 6 touchdowns as a receiver in a game.
Yeah.
How is that? Is that film study? Is that instincts? Or it was just one of those days where, again, you feeling like you're that dude and there's nothing he could throw at me that's gonna beat me?
It's a little bit of both. It was a combination. A little background. When Jay Cutler was in Denver with Mike Shanahan, and I was in Oakland for the 8 games I was in Oakland for.
Right.
We played Denver on the first Monday night when they do the double hitter. All right. Denver had this little quick receiver from Virginia Tech named Eddie Royal.
Yep.
I knew Eddie. Love Eddie. Still talk to Eddie to this day. And when I tell you, Mike Shanahan ran every man beater known, because he knew Al Davis ain't playing nothing but man. D Hall, you get one side, Nandi Asmar, you get the other side. Different route, you get the slot. Mike Huff was one of the safeties, Jabril Wilson. I mean, we had a hell of a defense. But when your quarterback is Jamarcus Russell, it was kind of hard to put points on the board. But to go back to that, Jay Cutler was that quarterback in that game. And Eddie Royal might have caught 7 or 8 balls, probably 5 or 6 on me. I'm talking whip motion, you know what I mean, on 3rd and 2, and I'm as a corner got to follow. He just zoomed to the flats. I'm like, bro, coach, we can't do that. But and Jay Cutler, I've never asked Jay this question, because I ain't really cool with Jay, but I guarantee if anybody asked him why he kept going at me,
right,
I'll tell you. Because 2 years ago, I lit him up, and that was, and so I kind of understood that all week in practice. I knew how cocky he was. I knew how he thought, oh man, absolutely, I'm gonna light him
do
up.
it again.
Yeah, and so when people didn't know that game, it was all in the second half, T, and in the first half,
wow,
I don't even know if I got any action in the first half. I did. It was just a back and forth, a lot of turnovers in that game. Hell, I had 4 picks myself. I want to say Albert Hainsworth had a sack, fumble recovery or something on the goal line to stop them from scoring. Wow. I think Pep ran one back, maybe not Pep. Yeah, I think Pep was on that team. No, Pep wasn't on that team. Urlacher ran one back.
Right.
I mean, it was literally a whole lot of back and forth. You talked about Donovan. We had Donovan as our quarterback that game. And boy, he was
that didn't last long. He was giving it up. And so literally in that second half, man, I just felt like it wasn't a shot. I mean, I felt like I was playing ball, man. I was a big basketball player growing up. And so, I've been on that court where I'm in the zone, man, where it don't matter. I'm coming down on fast break, pulling up. And like that, bro. Like Devin Hester ran a route, and he quick as hell. And somehow I'm beating him out his break, diving, pick, got the first one. Second one, they call it all-out blitz. I'm in the huddle like, man, are you kidding me? Why we call it all-out blitz?
Right.
On 3rd and 6 on the 18-yard line, them coming in. Jay throws a ball just behind Johnny Knox. I pick it off one hand, take it back. We in 2-man. He throws a slant to me. And then prevent defense, and he just throw one up.
I'll take that too.
And so some of it was me being in the zone. Some of it was trash quarterback. But, I mean, hell, I'll take it. My mom was in the stands that game.
Yeah.
I got to give her every ball after. And at the end, so it was super dope, man. Super dope.
Wow.
If I could have got Jay Cutler a couple more times, man, I might have me a gold jacket with
you might get one anyway. It's all good.
That's tough, bro.
That's big. Again, 4 picks in one game. Again, that's amazing.
Hey, we almost talking about 4 picks in one game and we lost. I'm just glad we won.
Yeah, that would have been all bad.
I know, right?
Yeah,
it's all bad. But like, so again, like I said, talk about. Like, I want to, you said you went to Atlanta, right? Early draft pick. The Oakland scenario. Because again, you were still trending up in your career, and then the Oakland scenario happened. What did happen in Oakland anyway? Well,
what happened really in Atlanta, what stemmed in Atlanta that sent me to Oakland was, everyone knows what happened with Michael Vick and the dog fighting and all those kind of allegations. And I think when we brought in a new coach, which was Mike Smith at the time, he was the Jaguars D coordinator in the Jack Del Rio. They loved me. I remember the draft process. Jacksonville saying they were going to draft me if I made it to that pick, and I ended up going to pick right before. And so I knew the coaching staff loved me. Michael Vick had just got paid 2 years. 2 years left on his contract. Me and Mike had the same agent, and so
you and Mike also played at Virginia Tech together, of course. Yeah, college.
The plan was always to get me paid with 1 year left on my deal. Rich McKay moved from the GM spot to the president spot, brought in Thomas Dimitroff from New England to be the GM. And, Dimitroff, I'm like, look, we kind of had already talked about getting the deal done. I'm supposed to be the face of the defense. Obviously, now we're going in another direction because there's no Mike anymore. And so, we're going to have to draft a quarterback, which they end up doing with Matt Ryan. I was supposed to, help solidify that defense. And, Thomas Dimitroff said, if Mike Smith tells me he wants you, we'll get the deal done. So I go in the Smitty office because that's how I am. Hey, Smitty.
Good, right.
Full transparency. Hey, Smitty. He over here telling me if you want me, he go. All right, Smitty grabs me. We walk to Dimitroff's office, and Smitty like, bro, I need him. I want him. He is the best player on our team.
Wow.
And I found out 2 weeks later, they trying to shop me at the combine.
Wow.
Wow.
They don't bang the knees. I'm at that time, I'm a 2-time Pro Bowler, and I'm 24 years old.
Trending up, right.
Got a year left on my deal. Why would you not want to lock me up? Right. And, and being so young and immature, if I had to do it all over again, maybe I'd have took a deep breath and chose a different path. But, I was committed, man. I was committed to my path and my value and my worth. And I didn't feel like I was getting in Atlanta. And I knew the Oakland deal was kind of trash because if you saw it on paper, it looked like a 1-year deal. And my agent was like, man, they can tear that deal up after 1 year and you won't get $18 million bonus next year. I'm like, end of the day, Atlanta was paying me 5, they paying me 9. I don't care. I'll go out there. You know what I mean? If that happens, God rest his soul. There's no way we're gonna cut you or trade or anything. We're giving up 2 draft picks for you and all this. Right. And middle of the season, or not middle of the season, maybe 5-6 games in the season when we ain't won but 1 or 2 games.
Right.
He sat me down and he was just like, look, I'm either gonna have to ask for a pay cut or we're going to have to cut you. You were the last guy to get paid. And I think it's only right for us to renegotiate. And I'm like, nah, you must be like, we'll renegotiate next year after I get that big bonus. But that's when I figured out that bonuses aren't really bonuses in the NFL. It's it's not like baseball.
It's not guaranteed.
After 8 games and ended up in DC, man. And, it ended up being the best thing for me, man. It was close to home. I had the Tech fan base that kind of just embraced me open arms because you were right. I was trending up. And then with that whole Oakland situation, everybody felt like, well, he must have done something wrong.
Right. Of course.
And, at that point, my whole goal was just to prove that I can still play corner, that I'm still an elite corner. Because it didn't make sense. Why did they just paid you $70 million? Right. You had to have been an asshole. You had to. And I'm like, no,
I didn't.
I'll just say since I was the last one to get paid, I should be the first one to get my money back. And I said, I ain't giving my money back. You can just cut me. And that's what he did.
Wow, that's great. So then after that, you went to Washington. You still made a Pro Bowl in Washington. And then, of course, as you probably got longer in the tooth, right, your career started getting toward the end. You switched from corner to safety to kind of get you a couple years in. How was that transition, again, because that very confident corner, I can lock down anybody saying, okay, we need you, but we need you as safety means you can't play corner anymore. How'd that transition go for you mentally?
You know what? I actually initiated the move to safety. Nice. And through my first 11 years in the league, you know, I didn't get hurt much, didn't have any surgeries. And then I had an Achilles one year, and I was able to come back, play corner the next year.
Tough.
But that next year, I ended up having like turf toe, where I almost tore that tendon down there. And it was so hard for me to break aggressively like a corner. As safety, I could T-step. I mean, I was out there playing safety, gosh, maybe three weeks before they, probably 3 weeks before they let me actually, you know, play in a game, because I'm like, bro, I feel good at safety, but whenever I went to corner, I just couldn't drive off my foot like I wanted to. And, you know, obviously seeing C. Wood, you know, make the move and them telling me they were going to be able to use me like that. Never got an interception at safety. And I'm thinking I'm going to be Ed Reed out there. I got 40 at corner. Maybe I can get 10, 15 at safety.
Right.
But it never happened, man. No quarterback wanted to throw it deep because they knew I was a ball guy. So ended up making more tackles and getting more headaches than actually making any plays. I love watching how C. Wood ended up always in the perfect defense that let him do whatever he wanted to do.
Right.
The perfect defense that let him jump everything.
Right.
Being straight man on man. That's to my tongue falling out my mouth, you know.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to have it any other way, though. You know what I'm saying? Had a great career. You know, like I said, you got records in the NFL. You had a great career. You got money in the bank. Like, you're a blessed individual, young fella.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
All good. And so I know a couple things before we get off. You know, we do a couple things on this show. Of course, we call it start one, bench one, cut one, right? So I'm gonna give you a little scenario and see what you come up with, right? So let's just say you got a third and 10 scenario, right? You got a safety over the top. So you and the safety got to communicate. You can give you three choices of a safety, right? Three former teammates: LaRon Landry, Lawyer Malloy, or Ryan Clark. Start one, bench one, cut one. 3rd and 10, you got 2 men with you and the safety over the top. What you go do? LaRon Landry, Lawyer.
LaRon's probably one of the fastest darn safeties I've ever played with.
Okay.
But speed don't mean nothing if you're going the wrong way or if you ain't got
you don't know what you're doing.
Because I don't know if y'all remember LaRon. We had a cover 2 called against Philly, and it was D-Jack. And I told LaRon, hey, bro, first of all, LaRon goes talking trash to D-Jack before the game, and I'm like, bro, I got to cover him. Let me said what you want. They called out cover 2. We said, LaRon, stay deep. LaRon doesn't stay deep. And D-Jack turned them all around 80 yards first of the game. So I don't want LaRon, first of all. I don't want LaRon.
Okay, so he cut. LaRon is cut.
and I'm going to probably sit, or you said sit one, bench one?
Cut one. Start one, bench one, cut one.
Yeah. I'm going to actually cut LaRon.
You going to cut LaRon? Gotta go.
Bench Ryan Clark, man. I'm a bench Ryan Clark. I played Ryan Clark when he was pretty long in the tooth himself.
Right.
That year, I actually tore my ACL. I was expecting to be able to play with him because, I mean, the dude was a phenomenal mind when you talk about a safety and just football. You know, probably one of the smartest people I know, hands down, on the football field, just the way he sees stuff. And so I'm only sitting him because I didn't play with him as long as I played with Lawyer. I'm going to start Lawyer Malloy because I was a young dude, man, and Lawyer taught me a whole lot about life, a lot about football. I still talk to Lawyer to this day. You know, having a dude who had the success he had early on and coming to Atlanta, he was able to teach, you know, our young group really how to be pros, man. And Lawyer wasn't the dude who was going to get back there and probably give you the best coverage. He was more of a banger. But like I said, he just taught me so much, and I've always been such a fan of his. And so I'm gonna take Lawyer Malloy.
Okay, there it is. Okay. So now I got start one, bench one, cut one. This is only for 1 year. You got this player for their one superstar year, right? You got Michael Vick, 2006 year. You got RG3, that 2012, 2013 year when he was balling, right? And you got Lamar Jackson, what he did last year. Start one, bench one, cut one.
So I'm gonna cut RG. I love you, RG.
Okay.
I'm a bench 7. That's my dog, but I'm a bench 7.
Okay.
I'm talking with Lamar, man. Just
wow.
I can tell you. I think Mike will be the first one to tell you, man. Like,
yeah, I know where you're going.
He played like he didn't have anybody cater that type of, like, Lamar's getting
system. Yeah, he got his own system. Yeah,
Kyler Murray is getting a system catered to
his ability. Catered to his abilities,
Haskins, man. And I hate to jump around, but when I watch Dwayne Haskins, I feel like they want him to do what they want him to do.
Exactly.
Like, bro, the kid threw 50 touchdowns in college, dog, and beat Joe Burrow out. He got to know how to do something right.
Right. True.
Right.
What he can do well, and coach him on that. Any team that puts you in position and understands. That's why I love Coach Belichick. Never been around him. Talked to him one time when I almost went there in free agency, but I love him because I don't see him high. I don't see him putting his guys in position to do the things they can't do. Like
can't do. Absolutely.
Sometimes I see coaches, they just want to call man and blame it on the call. Oh, he just got beat. Well, bro, scheme something up for us, man. Like, we know you can't cover him. Like,
right, exactly.
Everyone knows that. So why you got him doing it? It's because you can go in that meeting after and say, well, he was in man, dog. He should have covered him. Instead of saying, yeah, coach, I called the wrong call. That blitz shouldn't have called that. Instead of calling that, they want to be able to say, yeah, it was in man. He just didn't cover him. And so, I love seeing, even Rex Ryan, man, the way he always had Revis's back. You know what I mean? Because he would go in the media and say, oh, Revis locking everybody down. And then I'm looking at film and I'm like, bro, he got that safety over the top on that.
Over the top, right.
And I'm not saying it happened all the time. And Terrell, I know. It happened more times than not, but Rex was in there and have you thinking he was on an island by himself. I'm talking about go ahead.
And it doesn't hurt, it doesn't help the situation because you got analysts that don't really know. They thinking, he's on it. Exactly. They're co-signing what people are saying. Like I said, people that know, it's not happening 80-90% of the time. Yeah, is he a great corner? Absolutely. But he ain't just out there just shutting everybody down just one-on-one. There's disguised coverage. That's why you got these bums up there, common analysts or what have you, don't know what they're talking about, just going out there just spewing everything. But I'm glad guys they play the game.
That's what made me want to get into the media game, man, is because I used to sit home and hear analysts talk about what I was doing, and I'm like, bro, you totally, like, what are you talking about?
Don't even know, right? Don't even know.
Exactly.
Attacking guys for no reason. And I'm like,
exactly.
We got the point. He didn't make the play. Do you know how hard that play is to make? Or they act like, that was dumb. He shouldn't have, like, bro, he's not trying to do that.
Right.
Like, sometimes I feel like guys forget, even coaches that played, man. A lot of coaches, a lot of people on TV, they forget they played the game. You know what I mean? They forget how hard it is to play the game.
Right.
I made a hell of a lot of plays. I gave up some plays too. Like, I still have people talk about DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm like, bro, if you watch that, like, bro, I slipped trying to break on that weak ass double move route. I don't care about getting ate up. If I get ate up, like, gunfighters get shot for the coach already. Right. If I'm putting out shooting cats, at some point, only cat ain't getting beat is the cat that ain't playing. And so I got no problem and no qualms with the dudes who gave me work, because I gave plenty of dudes work myself. But
absolutely,
but I, when I say that, like, I don't even focus in on some of that stuff, man. But it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm glad you talked about obviously your segue into the booth and why you did that. Now that you feel like you're in a position to kind of educate and then bring really a true football mind. And then I think some networks, they like guys that are, pretty forthcoming and really not just X's and O's, but really showing the truth to what's going on out there as they dissect plays. Is that something now that you enjoy?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I love seeing a play and then, you know, being able to talk a fan through or talk, you know, my play-by-play guy. Well, why are they doing that? Well, look, man, they're in a quarters defense. Look, he should have stayed high on this. He's sitting his feet. That corner, it looks like it's his fault, but it's really not. That safety, they're playing a palms where he's going to trap out on him. That safety has to go roll to one. And so, you know, I enjoy being able to educate folks about, you know, kind of what's going on through the course of a game. And, you know, just myself in general, I like looking at it because I still try to play chess. What would I do in this situation? Right. Or, you know, because I've always had coordinators that were like linebacker guys. And so they always wanted to make sure the linebackers were protected or this. And so they hung us out to dry a lot. But then when I look at some other teams that have coordinators who are secondary guys, it seems like, look, we're going to make sure this back end is straight, right. And straight. Everybody has their assignment. Look, if a back beat us out the backfield, we'll all rally down to that, you know?
Right.
Oh, you good? Well, there it is. Oh, shoot. We always got one more. We got to get your top 5, young fella. We got to get your top 5 corners that played. You can put yourself in it or not. Again, going back to the 60s and 70s, or you just pick, you know, current guys, but we want to get your top 5 of the corners that you think that played in the NFL.
Oh, man. I mean, you know, I have to put Deion Sanders on my list.
Of course.
Darrell Green on my list.
Okay.
Green, yeah.
I love Champ Bailey's game, obviously. Seawood's game. I tell people all the time, you know, I might never get a gold jacket, but I tell you what, if I'm playing in a game, ain't nobody I'm gonna trust more than myself on anybody.
There it is.
Because I know my mindset and my mentality. Yeah, you might get me, but I ain't gonna quit. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. Yeah, that's how I was raised, and so I understand that I'm not the best corner compared to all the greats that are in the Hall of Fame. But if I'm playing in a game and I got to cover T.O. or Chad Johnson or Randy Moss or Marvin Harrison or Torrey Holt, Isaac Group, whoever, I like myself. I like
you know what?
Yeah, and I like that.
And T loves himself. There it is. That's perfect.
I like myself. I know what I'm gonna do.
You selling yourself short, homie. You gotta say, I love myself, bro. That's how I play, bro. I love me some me. And again, you have to have that mentality that, like I said, no matter what, you're put in a position to make a play, you have to have that confidence, that super uber confidence that you can make it. I mean, so man, I respected you. Again, when you talk about playing against you and we had these games, these upcoming games, like I knew that I was going to get your best. I knew that I was going against one of the best on that day. And again, obviously just the build up up into to the time that we played, like I said, everybody, whether it was a Monday night, Sunday night, or what have you, we were sort of like the two focal people that they focused on. They knew that there was going to be some battles between, it's going to be T.O., D. Hall, you know what I mean? So I knew that going into it. So I prepared myself, not only just in the off season, I prepared myself during the course of the week because I knew that I was going to get your best. And I was bringing my best in every phase of the game. So I appreciated that competitive spirit. And you mentioned it yourself, bro. You're not one of those that's going to quit. Bro, like I said, there were times, like I said, I scored on you, but you were still chirping and you were still coming at me. So I'm like, man, this dude don't stop. So I'm like, okay.
Look, I know T just made a play. Now I got to go make a play.
Right. All right. Yeah.
I'm in games. I'm like, bro, you gave up one. Okay, who cares? It's over. Can't get that back. Now go get one for me.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I'm not going to make it right. Trust me. I've been on that side too. You got to have that mentality. You have to be a realist. There's no perfect game being played by anybody. You're going to get beat. For me, there are going to be passes that are defended. They're going to bat it down. They're going to cover me or what have you. I understand that, okay, like he said, you got to have that next play mentality. You got to block that out, go to the next one. Because if you mess around and you keep dwelling on it, then you're not going to be focused. So, man, great, man. You're a great mentor for your kids, father for your kids. Trust me, your kids have a great person to model themselves after. And I had the joy and the pleasure of playing against you. You brought the best out of T.O. Trust me. When he said, I love me some me, bro, trust me. There ain't no light. I love me some me, bro. Trust me. I knew I had to have my popcorn every time, especially coming to the A, because I lived and I trained in Atlanta. Yep. So that was like my second home. Yeah, right. That's my second home.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I know. One of your free agent years, you were going to go. You're visiting the New England Patriots. It didn't happen. Kind of take us through that process of why did you end up with the Patriots that year?
Well, that was the season that I had got cut from Oakland, so I spent the other half of the year in Washington. And as part of me going to Washington, I signed in my contract that they couldn't franchise me, and that would give me the option to be a free agent after the season. And just the contract talks with Washington was going real slow, and it was so slow to the point that it was literally hours before free agency was about to hit. And Bill Belichick had called my agent like, look, we want to get him up here. They had already kind of talked about money. At the time, Randy Moss was already on the team. And Belichick said, like, I promised Randy I wouldn't pay anybody, any more than him besides Tom. And at that time, I think Randy was on a 3-year, $27 million deal, which is about $9 million a year. And they wanted to offer me the same deal. And in my young, naive mind, 27 is more than 30. Washington gave me a 50 million something.
Wow, yeah.
It was 30 guaranteed over the first 3. And so for $3 million, which if you told me that right now, I get $3 million. Of
course.
Ring.
Right.
Of course. So, looking back, hindsight.
When that's like the measuring stick nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But I enjoyed myself. Like I said, being from Virginia, DC was always a place I wanted to try to get to. Being in Atlanta, I saw Keith Brooking grow up in Georgia, play for Georgia Tech, get drafted by the Falcons, and I thought that was the coolest thing. Like we used to go, and the fans would be just enamored with him from high school, from college, and from the pros. And so, yes, I was so close to going to New England. Washington ended up coming through at the 12th hour. To get the deal done, and I ended up not even taking the trip up to New England, but I was so close to almost being a Patriot. And now understanding what Belichick's legacy is in football.
Absolutely.
Man, I could have learned Belichick, thinking myself that I didn't get a chance to, be a part of all the special times and championships they had over the last, 20.
Was that the year that they went to the Super Bowl?
So I would have been, I guess, 09.
So whatever, because they went to the Super. Was that because I know Randy was there? How long he was there? 2 or 3 years. But I know they went to the Super Bowl and they lost.
Yeah, they lost that 16-0 year. Yeah, I think I would have been 16.
Yeah,
that was the year. That's so yeah, crazy. So you definitely you might have could have helped him because according to so many people, if Randy is so great, they should have won that Super Bowl because they had the great Tom Brady and they had Randy Moss that was that dude.
You right.
Yeah. Hey, they had a lot of great Hall of Famers on that team, but I tell you what, so did the New York Giants. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The Giants is no joke.
No, they wasn't that. The reason I say that is because people put so much emphasis and everybody make this comparison with me and Randy. And I'm like, yeah, Randy's good. I feel like, he did a lot of great things, but he did one thing great, and that was go over the top. But I think, like I said, when you talk about complete receiver, me and Hatch was having this discussion. It was short. But I would say, like I said, being, like you said, when you talk about when I knew that I was that dude and that guy, and you talk about coaches putting players in position to win, bro, if I'm on that New England 18-0,
y'all would have lost 2.
No,
y'all would have lost 2. Y'all would have lost 2.
Hey, it don't matter. I'm willing to win.
Bro, you smoking crack.
I feel the same way. If I was on that team, we would have won 2.
First of all, you would have never even been considered to be on the team. First of all,
you know what's funny though? My free agent, I kind of had the similar story. Like my free agent year, I went to the Dolphins. I visited. Right, didn't sign. Went to the Chiefs. Didn't sign. Went to the Jets. Was there at probably like 2:00. Stayed in the building till like 7 or 8. I ended up signing that night. My next visit was supposed to be the Patriots the next day. And again, so does that mean that I would have went there and had a great? Nobody knows. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you had two other options prior to that, so clearly you didn't make their cut.
Clearly, I didn't get a ring just like you didn't, chump. So shut your butt up.
Hey, but I got that
gold
jacket though. Yeah, it does.
I got me an orange jacket.
I get my mama to make you a gold jacket.
I don't need it.
I got a replica that I made myself. I just give you that.
I'm sure you probably wear it all the time. Well, no, we appreciate you, D-Hall. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for the love. Thanks for showing up on the show. Appreciate it, dog.
I appreciate y'all. Hey, one of my twins want to say what's up. What's
up, man? Young fella?
And then T on the other side. You saw him earlier.
Yeah, what's his name?
All the YouTube highlights for the rest of the day.
What's his name?
DJ. He's DeAngelo Jr.
Okay, DJ Jr.
Hey, Junior. Hash got some highlights too, young fella. You might want to check out.
You might be for a while.
They ain't as long as T's, but you're gonna be surprised. You know what I'm saying? No, it's all good.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all, man.
Appreciate you, fam.
Man,
already.
I enjoyed it, man. No doubt, man. Much respect.
No doubt. And I'll hit you when I'm back out there on the West.
All right, say no more. D-Hall, ladies and gentlemen, on Getcha Popcorn Ready podcast.
No doubt.
Hey, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, DeAngelo Hall, for coming on the show today. It's a good show. Love talking. Love talking to them DBs, man. DBs and receivers. I love it. It's a marriage, a match made in heaven.
Yeah, I know. It's always great talking to those guys, those competitive DBs. But like I said, it was a joy to see him. Number one, obviously, he's on NFL Network. Obviously, with the COVID situation, everybody's doing virtual, so getting to see him do his thing there on screen. But again, there's so much that we can talk about and take from the show today. But just a couple of things stuck out to me is that obviously I think he said the same thing about himself that I say about myself. When you talk about our persona, I think we have a similar persona as it relates to being on the field and off the field. We're two different animals, two different beasts. Obviously, the competitive nature comes out, not in everybody, but when you're on the field, you have to play a certain way. You have to hold yourself to a standard, to your level of ability, as well as the organization and your teammates. And so I appreciate it, again, that about him. Like I said, it's so funny how when you talk to people, when you haven't talked to them in a while and you don't know them personally, you have preconceived notions about him or what have you. I've never really, known him on a personal level, just from afar. Admired his talent as a cornerback and one of the obviously fierce defenders, the DBs that I've had to face. So I found that very interesting. That again, that he's a lot of people, I'm sure, try to characterize you in a certain way, but just the persona on and off the field is very, very similar.
Yeah. Again, I think that's why I asked him that very first question about him, trying to, I guess, be like Dion by wearing the jersey, and he was playing offense, right, and all that good stuff. So,
right.
Went to Atlanta, whatever. But because he had a bigger personality than what people look at now. Everybody celebrates and everybody does this because of social media. I think he would have been even a bigger name back in the day with social media. If we had that back in the day as well, for sure.
Me too, boy. I'd be off the chain.
Yeah, you are already off the chain. Come back and get on the chain. How about that? So let's take it to our 3 and Out segment with D-Hall. I think one thing that stood out was
first, before you go there, let's explain to our audience what the 3 and Out, because we have new listeners coming in every week. So explain to them what the 3 and Out segment is.
Okay, so 3 and Out segment is when we take 3 points of the conversation and we want to get a little bit more in depth and kind of what moved us and gave us a certain opinion to talk about it after the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was that good, Mr. Owens? Did I nail it? Did I nail it, dog? Did I nail it?
I wouldn't say you nailed it.
I want to nail it.
You put a couple of hammers on it. But you definitely, like you said, it's throughout the whole entire episode or whatever, we kind of pick out, 3 things that, we feel like we can highlight, that comes up with that makes up our 3 and Out segment. So it was your idea to come up with a 3 and Out segment. So Yeah, I like it.
There it is. We'll shoot number one. I think was the 4 picks when he got Jay Cutler 4 times.
Yeah.
To have 4 interceptions in one game is amazing to me. That's like you said during the show. I think it's like having 4 or 5 touchdowns in the game, which seems dang near impossible until it actually happens.
Not for me though. Not for me. I'm mad. I'm mad. Honestly, I'm mad because I could have had a couple of games where I could have had like 5 or 6. And I just felt
know what? Me too.
No,
I could. There were a couple games where I could have scored. I could have scored 5 or 6 touchdowns, but I end up with 0 catches for 0 yards.
Oh,
but I could have. I was ready. I was ready.
Flag. Yeah,
I was ready. I was ready.
Hey, I ran right into that. But yeah, 4 picks in the game, bro. Trust me, I think it's harder as a DB.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah,
interceptions is hard. That's hard to do.
Bro, and to do it, 4 picks in the game, bro. That's remarkable.
And how he kind of did say he saw it coming because a couple years prior. This is what you guys have to understand. When you're in the NFL, like for years, you're studying tape and notes from years prior. You don't just look at last week's game of the Buffalo Bills or the Washington Redskins. Right, you're looking at your tendencies, and because again, he was with the players on different teams. Now you take all those things into consideration because he's like Jay Cutler got him a couple years prior when Eddie Royal was playing. Like, he's not going against Eddie Royal on that night, you know what I'm saying? But it's still he took it all in consideration and put it all together, and I'm getting him 4 times. Right.
Yeah, it's almost like you can take somebody out of the uniform, put them in another, but they're kind of ideally the same people. But again, when you start studying film and understanding tendencies, that's when you have to become a student of the game. And that's where that knowledge of the game starts to kind of, like you said, when you talk about him trending upwards, that was one of those moments, like I said, you start to trend upwards. So yeah, 4 picks in the game, bro, I'm telling you.
Impressive.
Very impressive.
The second thing in our 3-and-out segment, go ahead.
I think, the second one would be just the amount of talent that came out of the Virginia area, the VA area.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, Virginia Tech, obviously we know Michael Vick. He played with Michael Vick. Bruce Smith. Now, I got educated on this as the show was going, and obviously we know about AI, one of the most prolific small guards, the grace of NBA hardwood, the crossover against MJ, obviously the cornrows, obviously, like I said, started a culture, influencer. AI was that guy. And then, we mentioned Kenny Easley. You said he was a safety there with Seattle Seahawks. So, that was a tremendous amount of talent that has come out of that area. And he's one of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been kind of up on game because they've been putting a lot of guys, again, in the NFL, might not be Hall of Famers, but NFL, NBA players coming out of that Virginia area has been significant over the last 30 to 40 years for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Third thing on our 3-and-out segment, kind of how he touched on, and I guess especially from a father figure as well, don't be too good to work on your flaws. A lot of these guys in today, as far as the superstars, let's say in high school and college, 4-star, 5-star, you're going to be a high NFL draft pick. They're getting to this next level of professional sports saying, I made it, I'm here. I don't have to work on, I don't have any flaws. I'm good enough. I was number one. That's all irrelevant, right? All that stuff will go straight down the tubes in 6 months if you don't continue to broaden your game and working on your game in every aspect of your game over the career of your sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's basically, like I said, self-awareness of your potential, your skill set. And like I said, anybody can go out there and work on the things that you do great. That you do naturally.
That's easy.
Yeah, but it takes a different mindset, and I think we've mentioned it a number of times, and you've seen clips or you've heard clips from Kobe, and guys talk about Kobe's work ethics and his habits of just going in the gym and doing one move 1,000 times, like a jab, like 1,000 times. Like, who does that? That's somebody that realizes, okay, this is what I need to do in order for it to be instinctive when when in game time and when the moment calls for it.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. You know, I do some things on the Nike circuit. Like I said, we're always training and coaching up the kids, right?
Yeah, and whenever the B2, what is that?
B2G,
and then the Elite
11 and Nike, right?
Nike,
so
yep.
It's funny. Every time the receivers want to go one-on-one with the DBs, the first thing they want to do is what? Go deep.
Go deep.
So the first thing I tell them is there's no go routes. Because I want to see if you can run curls and comebacks and slants. But they get so mad and so angry and so frustrated. I'm like, I don't care about no go route. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just you running fast down the field and catching them.
Right.
Like, I got to see you run routes. I got to see you work on your craft. And you can tell the guys that want to work is the guys that stay in my line. The guys that don't, they usually go to another line because they want to go run go routes.
Right. It's route running. A go route is really not route running. You're just running in a straight line.
Right. And the ball's going to be there or it's not.
Yeah. It's the definition of what it actually says. It's route running. Yeah. I think that's good to eliminate, the things that you obviously do good or do instinctively or that's natural. Because you want to get something that's the easy way out. You want to go beat somebody deep. Okay.
Right. But can you run a slant? Can you run a comeback? Can you run a curl? So there it is. But yeah, thanks D Hall for coming on the show today, blessing us with your character. Good seeing you again. Again, he's doing this thing. So it's some NFL Network. He's doing the radio for Washington football team or Washington club team, whatever it's called now. It's not even the Redskins no more, of course. But again, thanks D Hall for coming on. Get Your Popcorn Ready podcast, and don't forget to subscribe on the Himalaya app wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. YouTube.com/Terrell Owens.
To see me.
Yeah, to see him, but you're really coming to see me.
See me.